Okay, so we're going to begin the section on demand and supply. To start out with, we're going to look at the demand curve, what causes movements along the demand curve, and changes in quantity demanded, and then we're going to look at the shift factors. So when we start out with demand, we looked at two key elements. We look at price on this axis and quantity on this axis. So if I've got a demand curve, I've got a downward sloping curve, meaning that as price declines, that quantity demanded will increase. So as the price declines, then consumers have more willingness to buy. When I'm looking at a price for a particular good, let's say that I wanted to know about peanut butter. So at a particular price, let's say $3, it could be that all the consumers are only demanding 100 jars of peanut butter. Now as price declines to $2.50, I will see that this will increase to $150. As it declines again to $2, then I see that the increase in quantity demanded will go up to 200. So this process continues, and this is what we know as the law of demand. As the price declines, the quantity demanded should increase. This is what we refer to as a movement along the curve. For this particular movement from point A to B, we would call this a rightward movement along the curve, meaning that price has only changed. So the price of peanut butter went from $3 to $2.50. Now to begin to look at the shift factors, I would still be interested in peanut butter with price on this axis, quantity over here, and peanut butter here. Now, in order for there to be a shift in the curve, it has to be something outside of the demand curve, outside of price for this peanut butter. So let's say that the price of jelly increased. So there's an increase in the price of jelly. So now, because we know that these are complementary goods, meaning that they go together, if I buy jelly, I should buy peanut butter because we all like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So if this occurs, what I should see is there should be a decline in peanut butter at all price levels, meaning that there is a shift to the left for peanut butter. Now, under no circumstances should you see a shift occur if there's changes in price of peanut butter. I should see a movement along the curve if that's the case. Now when I'm looking at supply, I see a different story. I see again price here, but now the curve is upward sloping, meaning that as the price increases, that quantity supplied should increase because producers have an incentive to sell more at a higher price. So if I was a producer of soda, let's say Coke, at 50 cents, I would only be willing to produce 100. Let's say this is in millions. At 75 cents, I would be willing to produce 150 million. And at $1, I would be willing to produce even more. The reason for this is because I want to gain more profit. This is known as the law of supply, and from point A to point B, it would be a rightward movement along the curve. Only the price, again, is going to affect the quantity supplied. Now, how would I get a shift factor in my supply curve? So if I'm again looking at Coke, For example, what I might see is if there's an increase in the price of sugar, I might see a change in Coke supplied. So what happens now is I would see supply shift back. This is a leftward shift in the supply curve. Notice it moves to the left. Anything below that would move to the right and would be an increase. Release my little doodle there. What this implies is that now, because the input prices, sugar, are higher, Coke can only afford to supply this much along the second curve at every price level. So now their cost structure is higher and they will produce less. So these are just two short examples of supply and demand.